Hey sports fans, today's just going to be a simple TBR video. I just want to briefly go over my January and February TBR with you guys. First up is The Strength of the Few by James Islington. I just finished The Will of the Many in mid-December, and the ending is so mind-blowing, so soul-shattering that I had to pick up The Strength of the Few immediately. I finished The Will of the Many, and then a couple hours later, I started The Strength of the Few because I just could not continue living with that ending without knowing what happened immediately after. I'm only like 8 chapters in, so I'm putting this on my January TBR, and hopefully I will finish it early January. I don't want to say a lot about this because I feel like it will spoil The Will of the Many. It is just the second in the Hierarchy series. I believe there are going to be 4 books, so we're only halfway through the series, and as far as I know, Islington is working very diligently to get the 3rd book out in 2027, I think is what I read, that he is anticipating getting the next book out. Next up in January, I would like to read the first volume of Ajin Demi-Human. I watched the anime of this years ago, and I really, really liked it, but there's only, I think, 2 seasons. So I was wandering around Barnes and Noble and I saw this and it was on sale, and I thought, you know what? I need to broaden my horizons and read some manga. So I picked this up. This book is about a high school student named Kei Nagai who is killed when he's hit by a bus one day, and he is only dead for a hot minute before he miraculously comes back to life. And he finds out that he is, for all intents and purposes, an immortal being who can come back to life indefinitely. In addition to this immortality, he also has the ability to see other supernatural entities. He freaks out and goes on the run. Government knows that these immortal people exist and they hunt them down. He goes on the run and is hunted down by a government agency, and he kind of gets embroiled and enlisted into a war between humans and these Ajin beings. As far as I know, the first season of the anime mostly follows this book, but the second season goes off the rails. So I'm really interested to read the entirety of the manga and hopefully have a really good time. Last in January, I would like to read Iron Gold by Pierce Brown. This is the 4th book in the Red Rising series. It is the first book in the sequel series, if that makes sense. This book picks up 10 years after the events of Morning Star. Darrow is in his 30s. He really thought that he was basically saving the galaxy, but what has actually happened is this never-ending war has just been raging for the past decade, and he's pretty sick of it. He thought that he was doing the right thing. He thought that he was revolutionizing life as he knew it, and in a way he was, but it didn't happen quite the way he wanted it to. And now he's kind of facing the repercussions, paying the price. This book is going to kind of set the stage for a whole nother series. We're going to get the perspective of some other characters from different casts in this world. We're going to see how the war and the revolution has really impacted these people and what role they have to play in the future of this world. The Goodreads description says that if Red Rising was the end of one universe, then Iron Gold is the beginning of a new one. I know that doesn't seem like much for January, but I wanted to leave myself some space to read other things as they come up, things that just start to interest me. I've really been wanting to reread Warbreaker, so if I have time, I'd like to fit that in either January or February. First of which, I would like to read The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I have heard really mixed things about this book, but I've owned it for a little while now, and I would like to just read it to get it under my belt to either enjoy it and move on with the series or dislike it and just get rid of it. So the Poppy War is about an orphan peasant named Rin who aces this test to get into War Academy. I think Rin is a bit of a savant, or I guess a tactical genius. So she does end up going to this academy, but she is an orphan, she is dark-skinned, she's a victim of war, and she gets kind of ostracized and outcast at this academy. There's also, I think, a magic element. The story is meant to mimic early 20th century China. I am not educated on the historical significance of this. I've heard a lot of people complain that it's like really historically insensitive or inaccurate. I have no frame of reference for that. Next up in February, the month of love, I would really like to read Persuasion by Jane Austen. Persuasion is about a young woman who, at 19, she, I think, falls in love with and becomes engaged to Captain Frederick Wentworth, but she's convinced or persuaded by other people to end the engagement. And then years later, in her late 20s, she has the opportunity to kind of rekindle this. She has a second chance at love. That's all I know about this story. I believe this is Jane Austen's last book, and it was originally published with Northanger Abbey. I don't know the significance of it, but I did think it was an interesting fact. Maybe I'm a little bit silly to be starting at the end with her works, but I am interested and I am excited to finally read a Jane Austen novel. Finally, in February, I would like to read The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig. I read House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin Craig, and I didn't love it. I didn't love like the story and what happened, but I did really like her writing. I really liked how atmospheric it was, and I'm hoping to get maybe a story that I like a little bit more and the writing that I really enjoyed with this one. This book is about a young woman named Hazel who's a 13th child, and in this world, 13th children are kind of dedicated or devoted to a god. Hazel is the goddaughter of Death, and Death gifts her the ability to see people's ailments immediately. So if someone is sick and they're on the verge of passing, she can see what is causing their illness. In exchange for this gift, she has to assist Death in ending people's suffering. Hazel somehow ends up at the royal court, and that is where she meets a grumpy Prince Leopold. And she is tasked as a healer to help his ailing father, the king. And she faces a dilemma between whether she should try to actually save his life or if she should do what she is supposed to do and help end his suffering. I think that this is kind of a YA gothic fantasy romance. I'm hoping it's not romantasy, which I think is very different from a fantasy romance. I'm hoping that it's more fantasy with a romantic subplot. That's it for my January, February TBR. That's everything that I am planning to read. I may pick up one or two other books that aren't on this list, just depending on how quickly I'm getting through things. I do anticipate finishing all of them. I don't foresee anything interrupting my progress with this TBR. I think it would be really cool if anybody wants to read these with me to just pick them up in the coming months, read them, we can discuss, let me know what you thought. Maybe we agree, maybe we disagree. It would be super cool. I love hearing other people's opinions. That's the whole reason I'm here.